Welcome back to Filter. I'm Diane Mizota, and we're back aboard the Queen Mary in Long Beach, California, where we're counting down the games that made a killing. We've got 3 games left, but before we wrap up, let's catch up with a quick recap. Lara Croft raided her way into just about everybody's living room as Tomb Raider 2 kicked off the countdown at number 10. Tons of people tried to catch them all with Pokemon Red and Blue. The games grabbed the 9th spot. Mario raced his way into your hearts in 8th place finisher, Super Mario Kart. Donkey Kong made his way all over this and just about every other country, finishing in the 7th spot. Goldeneye sold a sick amount of copies, and that puts it in 6th. Harry Potter didn't need any magic to wind up in 5th, and the bloodthirsty Vice City soaks up a 4th place finish. Speaking of soaking up, this would be the place to do it, up here at the first-class swimming pool. And it appears that even the ghosts can't get enough, since there have been several sightings of women dressed in vintage bathing suits wandering these decks, accompanied by splashing sounds and trails of wet footprints. The area has actually been described as a vortex for the paranormal activity aboard the Queen Mary. Similarly, the game at number 3 has been described as a vortex for just about anyone with a little bit of free time. The Sims just own you.
If you had been given a design document of The Sims before it came out, I think most people would have looked at it and thought, what is this? Is this a video game?
The reason that The Sims sold so well was it was just an interesting gameplay idea that no one had ever done anything like before.
You could actually take control of another person and put them in really weird situations and see how they would react and what they would do. That was the first time that, anything like that has ever happened in a game.
The Sims is another good example of making a game for people who don't necessarily play games all the time.
It's kind of like the every person title. It's like your mom can play it, your little brother can play it, and it really appealed to a whole wide range of people. And it was just, getting everybody in a nice little house and putting up great decor. I mean, it's like, trading spaces on your on your console.
What does The Sims share with the games that you're about to see? Absolutely nothing. Well, save for the fact that they're both games. Here are some of the biggest duds of all time.
Some of the worst selling games of all time. Boy, probably Xbox titles in Japan. I would have to say maybe Sneakers. Sneakers probably didn't sell that well, mainly because it was a Toys R Us exclusive. And unless you were hanging out with Toys R Us and you were an Xbox guy, you probably didn't pick up that game.
This is funny, actually. I remember reading some sales figures, and the worst selling game I can ever think of, there was a game for N64 called Star Soldier Shattered Earth, and I believe that it had sold 23 copies the year it came out.
Conker's Bad Fur Day is pretty bad in terms of worst selling, at least for the N64. That game had been in development for probably about 5 years before it was finally released, and it was near the end of the Nintendo 64 life cycle, and people seemed to think that it would do well based on South Park type of humor because that was still in at the time, but players had moved on to other things.
That's a pretty smell. Let's clear up the foul odors wafting through these halls by redirecting our attention to a couple of prized gems. When it comes to the most successful selling games of all time, nothing can touch Tetris for the Game Boy or Super Mario Bros. For the original NES. The titles strike a chord with gamers on many levels. They're fun, they're challenging, and they're downright addictive. No matter how they fare, the people that play these games just keep coming back for more and more. But blah, 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 I could go on forever. The million-dollar question is, which one sold more? Well, you know how we do it. It's time to sit down and strap in as bricklaying and pipe fitting collide in a Queen Mary-sized filter face-off.
Oh, wow. Wow, which do I think sold more?
Filter face-off, it would have to go Super Mario. Super Mario will waste Tetris any day.
gonna have to say Super Mario, just because, I mean, it's, you know, it's like the ultimate platforming game that just totally paved the way for the rest of the platforming games.
It's a game which, although a lot of people look at it and they don't see anything too flashy or anything too cool, it has consistently been the benchmark for what is a fun game.
I mean, we wouldn't have a Jak and Daxter, we wouldn't have, you know, Ratchet and Clank if it wasn't for Super Mario.
For games that made a killing, the top spot should definitely go to Tetris, because they're still making different variations of Tetris as we speak.
Well, Tetris is just universally appealing. You know, everyone likes to play puzzle games, and it's good. You know, the ladies like to sit down and play it. Even my mother played it.
Oh, I would say Tetris by far, mainly because it's a game that's understood throughout the world.
Tetris versus Super Mario is a real tough one, but I'm gonna have to go with Tetris. It's just a lot simpler, a lot easier to understand. You know, plumbers and turtles and princesses, those are pretty universal themes, but everyone knows what a block is.
So which games made their way into more homes? Well, the polls are closed, the votes are counted, and the game that made the biggest killing is Super Mario Brothers.